सर्व सिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकप्रद सर्व भागवत पुराण श्रीमद् भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वांत वैतादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्षक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्या श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तु मे मदेक बंधो मत्संगिन मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तार्क मद्भाग्य मदानंदन साधु साधुतादायेन नतिनिचोच्चताकर आनमंच पदाचिन मां प्रेमना हृतंकैव स्फुरा वंदेहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथामृतं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामे नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत वेदांत श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, let's resume. 1.5.12 purport. As referred to above, not only ordinary literatures. Did I not complete this? Anyway, let me read this. As referred to above, not only ordinary literatures devoid of the transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned, but also Vedic literatures and speculation on the subject of impersonal Brahman when they are devoid of devotional service. When speculation on the impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, then what to speak of ordinary fruitive work which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotion service? Such speculative knowledge and fruitive work cannot lead one to the goal of perfection. Fruitive work in which almost all people in general are engaged is always painful either in the beginning or at the end. It can be fruitful only when made subservient to the devotion service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that unless the results of such fruitive work are offered for the service of the Lord, they lead to material bondage. The bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead. And thus, when the results of such work are engaged for the sense gratification of the living beings, those results become acute sources of trouble for such false enjoyers. So, in Prabhupada's presentation, when he talks about the result work, he's actually talking of something very concrete. He's talking of money that is the result of working. So that money has to be used in the service of Lord Krishna. Pranay Rathe Thiya Vacha. Generally, the results of pious work are said to be pious credits. So when you offer it to the Lord, it signifies that I'm not interested in future material happiness. I want spiritual progress. I want to become free from lust, anger, greed, and so on. Prabhupada has explained offering the results to Krishna in a much more tangible manner. That you offer your money. This kind of this usage of offering the result to the Lord in terms of offering money is also found in the Vedic literature. At least I found one instance of it. There must be several more. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, when Srila Prabhupada is saying fruitive work is always painful either in the beginning. So beginning, I can understand that a lot of hard work is there. Or at the end. So at the end, how it is painful? Because it binds one in cycle of birth and death, or because the result is frustrating?
Yeah, it creates abhiman. It gives us the impression that we are in charge or we are meant to be in charge and that it is our responsibility or duty. It binds our sense of self-identity with the situation. So it becomes a very naughty situation. You are like knotted into it. And it becomes very, very, very difficult to get out of it. It becomes very difficult. The solution to all this is not adharma. Adharma is tamasic. Adharma is tamasic. Adharma just puts us in delusion. It doesn't solve anything. It binds us to hundreds and thousands of lifetimes. So that doesn't solve any problem. Rajasic activities are activities of material dharma or carrying out or material duties, varna dharma, ashrama dharma, stri dharma, with the desire to attain material happiness, trivarga, dharma, artha, kama. So that certainly binds. So the solution is to avoid adharma and to make karma subservient to jnana and bhakti. Jnana itself should be made subservient to bhakti, bhakti anukula jnana, and karma which is anukul to that kind of jnana. That is acceptable. Otherwise, it's not acceptable. 13. Atho mahabhaga bhavan amukha drik chuchishrava satya rato dhrita vrata kurukramasya akhila bandhamuktaye samadhina anusmaratad vicheshtitam. Oh Vyasadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness. And thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage. तदेवं भक्तिशून्यानि ज्ञानवाक्चातुर्य कर्म कौशलानि व्यर्थानि एव यतः अतो हरेश एव अनुवर्णय इत्याह. Because the process of jnana, expertise in speech, dexterity in karma are simply useless when they're devoid of Krishna Bhakti. You should continuously describe the activities of Lord Hari. That is the point. So in Samadhi, you should first of all perceive the various activities of the greatly adventurous Lord. And you should do this for liberating people from all kinds of bondage. So please think of the pastimes of the Lord, which means remember these pastimes and then describe them. People in general have a taste for literatures by instinct. They want to hear and read from the authorities something about the unknown, but their taste is exploited by unfortunate literatures which are full of subject matter for satisfaction of the material senses. Such literatures contain different kinds of mundane poems and philosophical speculations, more or less under the influence of Maya, ending in sense gratification. These literatures, although worthless in the true sense of the term, are variously decorated to attract the attention of the less intelligent men. Thus, the attracted living entities are more and more entangled in material bondage without hope of liberation for thousands and thousands of generations. Narada Rishi, being the best amongst the Vaishnavas, is compassionate towards such unfortunate victims of worthless literatures. And thus he advises Sri Vyasadeva to compose transcendental literature, which is not only attractive, but which can also actually bring liberation from all kinds of bondage. Vyasadeva and his representatives are qualified because they are rightly trained to see things in true perspective. Vyasadeva and his representatives are pure in thought due to their spiritual enlightenment, fixed in their vows due to their devotional service, and determined to deliver the fallen souls of rotting in material activities. Therefore, it is so important to surrender unto the lotus feet of full-fledged representative of Vyasadeva, and also to those who assist such representatives of Sri Vyasadeva, even though those assistants may not be perfect in Krishna consciousness. The fallen souls are very eager to receive novel informations every day. And the transcendentalists like Vyasadeva or Narada can supply such eager people in general with unlimited news from the spiritual world. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to publish, he did publish a newspaper every day, Dainik Nadiya Prakash. It had one portion which was just material news. And it had another portion which was all Krishna consciousness. So when he was asked, how come you publish a daily newspaper? Then he said, this is what he said. He said, because from the spiritual world, we can get unlimited news. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the material world is only a part of the whole creation and that this earth is only a fragment of the whole material world. Achyutananda.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, couple of points are there if you can guide on them. Like in the translation, situated in truthfulness is mentioned. So in our day-to-day life, like I've experienced in at least for me, that there are lies which creep in. Or maybe I'm talking on phone with someone and then some small lie. Oh, this I did like this. So how this telling a lie affect our spiritual life? How important is that? It said that quality of Brahman is truthfulness. I just want to know the importance.
That is the first good quality that develops in a person who progresses in Uttama Bhakti, pure devotional service to Krishna. There's a list of qualities that develop in a person who becomes a devotee. Rupa Goswami gives this list in the second part of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And if I remember correctly, this is the first one that develops. Unless we become truthful, we don't become reliable. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is placed speaking untruth on the same platform as illicit relationships, animal killing, and so on. It is considered to be a great sin.
And Prabhu,
when we take to Krishna consciousness in the beginning, we are engaged in tamasic bhakti yoga. So we have features of tamoguna, adharma mixed in. So therefore, you only perceive the effect of tamasic bhakti yoga. You don't perceive the effect of rajasic bhakti yoga, sattvic bhakti yoga, or pure bhakti yoga. So the non-experience of the results of pure bhakti yoga itself should impel us to examine what grade of bhakti yoga I am engaged in. And very soon we'll detect that definitely it has features of tamoguna, which it simply creates a gigantic mess. Let us try to avoid all these things. Krishna will certainly help.
And Prabhu, in purport, one more point is there that people want to know something about the unknown. It is in the second line, and then again, just about this line, the fallen souls are very eager to receive novel information every day. But like I am trying to compare this with the tendency of people who are like they are not interested in spiritual matters. They are new, like about the soul, about spiritual world. It's all new, but we don't see that people are eager to receive. And here it is written very
No, they're
eager
eager to know about
So
the unknown. They're eager to know about the unknown. The unknown doesn't have to be spiritual. They're eager to know what's happening in this country, what was found in that place. There's so many things. Newspapers thrive on this.
then it lies on us how we present those unknown things in spiritual direction?
Yes, it is our duty to uh, take advantage of the benefits given by more advanced devotees and the holy names of Krishna, come up to standard and help others also to come up to standard. At a certain point, you understand that Krishna consciousness is very intuitive. You do not need to be a big scholar to understand it. It's a simple thing. Krishna is great eternally. We are not great eternally. The next best thing we can achieve is to uninterruptedly and without any motivation endeavor to please Krishna, which is what everybody in Goloka Vrindavan are trying to do. He is the supreme enjoyer. Nobody can be as happy as he is. He's inviting us. He wants to share his happiness with us. He is the supreme controller. The amount of control he has, none of us have, none of us can ever. And he is the greatest well-wisher. He has the greatest amount of selfless affection for each and every one of us. We cannot even have that kind of love, affection. In any rasa, we cannot have. We just cannot have. Constantly broken by prakriti, kala, karma. So therefore, it makes sense to pursue towards becoming full-fledged, pure servants of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. So when we understand that and we progress, Krishna and Krishna's associates help us. They help us come to the standard. Yes.
Hare Krishna, bro. Bro, which book we can get a spiritual world, about the spiritual world?
Means what?
Information of the spiritual world. Just like Brahma Samhita, there are some glimpses are written. So in more detailed way, if somebody asks to suggest or to read personally also.
Bhagavad Gita gives us a basic hint of what the spiritual world is not like. Because first we need to understand what the spiritual world is not. So like an Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita tells us what the spiritual world is not like. Then Srimad Bhagavatam gives further details. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita gives the highest amount of detail. All of this is meant to be known, understood, and realized. Okay. There are thousands and thousands of literary men all over the world. And they have created many, many thousands of literary works for the information of the people in general for thousands and thousands of years. Unfortunately, none of them have brought peace and tranquility on the earth. This is due to a spiritual vacuum in those literatures. Therefore, the Vedic literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, are specifically recommended to suffering humanity to bring about the desired effect of liberation from the pangs of material civilization, which is eating the vital part of human energy. The Bhagavad Gita is a spoken message of the Lord himself, recorded by Vyasadeva. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental narration of the activities of the same Lord Krishna, which alone can satisfy the hankering desires of the living being for eternal peace and liberation from miseries. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is meant for all the living beings all over the universe for total liberation from all kinds of material bondage. Such transcendental narrations of the pastimes of the Lord can be described only by liberated souls like Vyasadeva and bona fide representatives who are completely merged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The others, those who are not engaged in pure devotional service unto Lord Krishna's lotus feet, even if they describe all this based on their own realizations, the effect will be very, very little. It is realization that gives the impact. Purity is the force. Dr. Siddhanta Saraswati once gave the example like a Vishadhara Sarpa, a poisonous, when it bites, immediately the victim dies. But if a non-poisonous snake that looks just like that poisonous snake, it goes on biting, the effect is not there. So I may say Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are all eternal spirit souls, eternally dependent on Him. We need to get back to the spiritual world. Everything I say may be correct, but the impact will not be there. Because purity is a force. That is why it is said, Avaishnava Mukhodgirnam Bhutam Harikathamritam Shravanam Naiva Gantavya Sarpochishtam Yathapaya. Bhutam Harikathamritam indicates that even if you speak purely topics of Krishna consciousness, still, if you are not a Vaishnava, then those who hear you will also become a non-Vaishnava. And if you are an impure Vaishnava, then those who hear you will become that. Those who hear mean those who submissively hear you. Those who provide oral reception to you. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati will stress this point. It is important that we actually come up to the standard. Not just that because we are repeating what Prabhupada said and what Prabhupada's followers superior to us in Krishna consciousness say. We are also duty bound to come to the platform of Prema Bhakti. Because for proper impact in preaching, all of us need to come to that point. Only to such devotees do the pastimes of the Lord and their transcendental nature become automatically manifest by dint of devotional service. No one else can either know or describe the acts of the Lord, even if they speculate on the subject for many, many years. The descriptions of the Bhagavatam are so precise and accurate that whatever has been predicted in this great literature about 5,000 years ago is now exactly happening. Therefore, the vision of the author comprehends past, present, and future. Such liberated persons as Vyasadeva are perfect, not only by the power of vision and wisdom, but also in oral perception, thinking, feeling, and all other sense activities. A liberated person possesses perfect senses. And with perfect senses only can one serve the sense proprietor, Rishikesha, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is the perfect description of the all-perfect personality of Godhead by the all-perfect personality, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas. Do we lose purity when we get lusty desires in the dreams? Yes. Whether it is night dream or day dream. Mohan Radha, very good.
So you told about submissively hearing. So it impacts one's consciousness according to from wherever we hear. Similarly, is it for reading also? If one reads like submissively?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All of us should be careful about it. Even though the content may be very fine, that fear is always there. And that impact also we see. In my library, I myself have a few books which are proper, but the content is provided by dedicated non-devotees. So I myself get occasionally frightened, whether I should read it or not. Gopi Brahman Prabhu used to tell me that if you want to read the scholarly writings of the predecessor acharyas, scriptures, and so on, then you should learn the language. You just learn the language and read it in the original. You listen to all these translations are all interpretations. That's first of all a basic principle. All translations are interpretation. Whether the interpretation is 100% in line with the intentions of the author or not, that is a separate question. But all translations are interpretations. So that itself makes me think every now and then. Does Vaishnava Aparadh is also a cause for this? Vaishnava Aparadh is a big mess. It is such a big mess. That is why it is considered to be a mad elephant offense. First of all, we need to understand who is referred to as a Vaishnava in this. We need to examine that booklet, Vaishnava Ninda, that essay written by Vidvan Thakur on what is the nature of Vaishnava Ninda and who is the Vaishnava that is being referred to. It actually refers to pure devotees. So the mad elephant offense refers to those who are perfect pure devotees or even imperfect but pure devotees. But that doesn't mean that we can engage in criticism of impure devotees or non-devotees, because these things produce sinful reactions, and sinful reactions prevent us from making spiritual progress. So it creates a big mess. Therefore, we should take shelter of Krishna's holy names and submissively associate with those who are spiritually more advanced, who are affectionate to us, and who are spiritually like-minded. And never get out of the boundaries of dharma. That is a basic principle. First of all, never get out of dharma. First of all, let us become uninterruptedly dharmic while we pursue Krishna consciousness. And then become uninterruptedly sattvic, and then uninterruptedly pure, and then we can come to the point of uninterrupted perfection in Krishna consciousness. 14. Tatonyatha kinchana yad vivakshata tatagdrshastat krita rupa namabhi nakarhichit kvapi cha dustitamate labheta vata hata nauri vaspadam. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms and names to agitate the mind, as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. Vipakshe doshantaramaha. But if you don't do this, what I have told you, then you will have to experience problems. If you have a vision that is distinct, if you see things other than the pastimes of Lord Urukrama in Samadhi, that means whatever you conventionally see, that is different from what you see in Samadhi. What you see, the pastimes of the Lord that you see in Samadhi. Then you will present a description that contains various names and forms. But that is not going to help people become steady in spiritual consciousness. Just as a boat is turned over, capsized by a strong wind, because people will develop, they will not be able to correctly understand this is the position of Lord Krishna, this is my relationship with him, and so on. They will develop all kinds of conceptions. Srila Swami notes, Vyavasayatmika buddhi rekeha gurunandana bahushakha hyantascha buddhayo vyavasayana. Those who are fixed and resolute in spiritual life, their intelligence is steady. Whereas the intelligence is, first of all, that itself is plural, because you think about different things. So you develop different types of discriminate deliberations on each and every compartment of your life. Each of them has multiple branches. You have to try to fulfill each and every one of them. The whole thing is sort of Project Unlimited. Whereas in pure devotional service to Lord Vishnu, it is not the case. Sri Vyasadeva is the editor of all descriptions of the Vedic literatures, and thus he has described transcendental realization in different ways, namely by fruitive activity, speculative knowledge, mystic power, and devotional service. Karma, Jnana, Yoga, Bhakti. This is all within Vedic Dharma. Karma Dharma, higher than that is Jnana Dharma, higher than that is Yoga Dharma, higher than that is Bhakti Dharma. Besides that, in his various Puranas, he has recommended the worship of so many demigods in different forms and names. The result is that people in general are puzzled how to fix their minds in the service of the Lord. They're always disturbed about finding the real path of self-realization. Srila Narada Dev is stressing this particular defect in the Vedic literatures compiled by Vyasadeva, and thus he is trying to emphasize describing everything in relation with the Supreme Lord and no one else. In fact, there is nothing existent except the Lord. The Lord is manifested in different expansions. He is the root of the complete tree. He is the stomach of the complete body. Pouring water on the root is the right process to water the tree, as much as feeding the stomach supplies energy to all parts of the body. This is Bhagavatam, Yathatarur Moolam Shejana verse. Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva should not have compiled any Puranas other than the Bhagavata Purana, because a slight deviation from that may create havoc for self-realization. This expresses Narada Muni's thought. If a slight deviation can create such havoc, then what to speak of deliberate expansion of the ideas separate from the absolute truth personality of Godhead? The most defective part of worshipping demigods is that it creates a definite conception of pantheism, ending disastrously in many religious sects, detrimental to the progress of the principles of the Bhagavatam, which alone can give the accurate direction for self-realization in eternal relation with the personality of Godhead by devotion service in transcendental love. So therefore, Prabhupada was dead against worship of demigods, even worship of demigods as devotees of the Lord, because it creates that impression. It completely disconnects us from pramana, sambandha, abhideya, prayojana. Gradually. The example of the boat disturbed by whirling wind is suitable in this respect. The diverted mind of the pantheist can never reach the perfection of self-realization due to the disturbed condition of the selection of object. Narada Muni is thinking about the spiritually weak souls of Kali Yuga. When they read Puranas, they will not even understand how to interpret the Puranas, how to interpret the information that's given to you. Strictly speaking, there's nothing wrong with what Vyasadeva has done. Everything has its role to play. All these literatures do have their role to play. All the Vedic literatures are actually focused on the Supreme Lord Hari. Vede Ramayane Chaiva, Purane Bharate Tatha, Ado Ante Cha Madhye Cha, Hari Sarvatra Giyate. It is Lord Hari who is the object of glorification of the Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Puranas, everywhere. But the spiritually weak souls of Kali Yuga cannot sense it. So just as a teacher has to think like a student, he has to understand what the student understands, he has to understand what the student does not understand and what he cannot understand under the limitations that are forced by circumstance on the student. Narada Muni, being a perfect teacher, understands that. Because both of them are just trying to work out textbooks for educating the conditioned souls. So because Vyasadeva himself has requested Narada Muni to explain to him what went wrong, therefore Narada Muni is speaking so strictly, harshly. Achyutanam.
Prabhuji, this Hari Sarvatra Giyate, one slok, where can we find it?
How it is in Harivamsha, famous verse.
Can you repeat the first line, Prabhu, so that I can...
Ask me in the Telegram group, I'll send you the verse with its meaning and translation.
Okay.
15. Mohan Radhapati group.
So the Puranas were written for this Kali Yuga souls only, no? So, right. Means they were the audience keeping whom in mind as they wrote those Puranas.
When you communicate with me, you have to communicate using vakyas, sentences, not sutras, aphorisms.
Sorry, bro. So the Puranas which Vyasadeva wrote, so Means, is it meant for the Kali Yuga souls only? Keeping us in mind, he wrote those Puranas.
Yes.
So how he means, but like you, as you said that Narada is pointing out, Sri Narada is pointing out that we cannot properly interpret them. Means, so
Learn to ask questions.
means,
You have to learn to frame questions. When you become a lawyer, they train you to frame issues. So you have to learn to frame questions. What is your question? Because even at this point, if you simply stop, I can myself come up with 5 different questions. So what question are you having in mind? I need to know.
if he wrote it for, if he wrote the Puranas for us, then how he wrote in a way that we will not be able to interpret actually. Like the Kali Yuga souls will not be able to interpret the proper meaning. So why he wrote the Puranas in that way? Sir? He may have written Bhagavad Purana only then, as Narada is telling.
See, Vyasadev's project was to uplift the conditioned souls to whatever extent they allow themselves to be uplifted. So, take for instance the Puranas that are generally considered to be tamasic. Being Vyasadev's own production, they are originally fully spiritual only. There's nothing. The entire body of Vedic knowledge, as presented in its pristine form, both the Shruti and the Smriti, nothing but a literary expansion of Lord Narayana. Vedo Narayana Sakshat. It is fully spiritual by itself. But it conveys an impression of being tamasic or rajasic in order to captivate the attention of the tamasic and rajasic souls. Because the first step is to win the confidence of the reader. So he writes in a particular manner. And the Puranas were all taught by the Brahmanas. So you're supposed to learn all this from qualified Brahmanas. None of this is meant for self-reading, self-study, and so on. You can read it. Nobody will stop you from that. But you will just not understand them correctly. As much as university textbooks are available in the market. Anybody can buy them and read them. But you cannot do things. Cannot. Like for instance, you cannot become a doctor or a surgeon by yourself just by looking at books and by maybe watching YouTube videos, and you don't. That's not how you need to be. You need to be trained. So in Vedic civilization, you're supposed to listen to qualified Brahmanas who train you. So Vyasadev's project is a noble project, but uplifting the conditioned souls, or in today's world, raising the consciousness, that is one project. But bringing them to the point of complete spiritual satisfaction is something else. That comes only at the very end. But that very end is available in the very beginning also. If they directly engage in Kevala Bhagavad Bhakti. So Srimad Bhagavatam will develop these ideas. So what Vyasadeva did is certainly not wrong. Because he is simply training the conditioned souls to progress from Tamoguna to Rajoguna to Sattva-guna to Vishuddha Sattva in pure service to the Lord. So there are 3 tracks, and the vast majority are following track 1, are meant to follow track 1. So for them, he writes things in a particular manner, according to the state of consciousness of a particular person. They need to be told, this is right, this is wrong, this is the best thing. Don't think anything else. Because if they think of something else, then they'll make a mess. (15) Jugupsitam dharma pratenushasata swabhavaraktasya mahangatikrama yad vakyato dharma ititarastito namanyate tasya nivaranam janam. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your direction, under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Tadevam hariyasho vina bharatadishu kritam dharmadi varnanam akinchit karam ityuktam pratyuta viruddhameva jatam ityaha jugupsitam iti. So the glories of Lord Hari that are found in the Mahabharata and so on, that actually, okay, this is what he's saying. The descriptions of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha that is found in the scriptures, specifically in Mahabharata and so on, without a spotless presentation of Lord Hari's glories, that will only produce a result that is the very opposite of what you want to achieve. Lord Hari has specifically been glorified in Mahabharata and so on. That is known. But it is not presented in a pure manner. There is a presentation of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha in a manner that is different from how it is presented in the Bhagavata Purana. So, because you have presented it like this, it is going to produce a result that is the opposite of what you intend, even though you don't want it. These people will screw it up. Jugupsitam, Nindyam, Kamya Karmadi. The allowed activities of the scriptures. The allowed activities of scriptures are the Kamya Karmas. And so on. And other activities. They're actually fit to be criticized. Because it will give you more happiness and less unhappiness. That's a fact. If we follow Dharma, we get Artha and Kama. We get happiness. We get happiness greater than the happiness that you can ever achieve through Adharma. No doubt about it. But however, it is still mixed with unhappiness. So for a person who is seeking liberation from all the problems of material existence, it is still a problem. Whether your wife kicks you on the face or slaps you on the face, you may say a slap is better than a kick, but still it is a slap. So like that, the material happiness that you get is interpreted as an inferior variety of material distress, which is also unacceptable for a mumukshu, for one who is seeking liberation from material existence. Not only those who seek material existence, liberation from material existence, also those who are interested in reviving their loving service to Lord Krishna and his plenary portions. So now those who, by their intrinsic conditioned nature, are attracted to these material activities, for them, you have presented Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You have inspired them. But this will only cause a great transgression for them. Why? Because they will think, this is the main duty for me. And they'll be fixed in this. Because they are materialistic souls. They'll be fixed in this conception. When you try to, through philosophical analysis, help them get out of kamya karma and similar material activities, they will not be able to grasp it. They will simply not be able to understand statements in the scriptures such as na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyagena ke amritattva na shuku. Not through pious activities, not by begetting auspicious children, not by giving in charity wealth, It is only by renunciation that a few have attained the position of nectarian immortality. This is a famous statement in one of the Upanishads. So, when you even refer to statements like this, they will think that these things are not meant to be taken seriously. They will think
चित्तमोहन प्रभु क्या कर रहे हैं?
I am the host now.
I am hungry now. Please feed me.
Okay, yeah. What happened? Do you
stop.
তিরিশ বস্তা করে 5 বার 1 2 3 4 120 বস্তা অনেক এখন অনেক লাগবে এদিকেটা হয়ে যাবে না আর লাগবে
चित्तमोहन प्रभु मैं कौन है?
आपसे पूछ रहा था ना
सब YouTube पे जाएगा डायरेक्ट?
उतना चलेगा कोई बात नहीं
फिर से चले गए, आए थे प्रभु जी चले गए।
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
There is a big difference between poisonous snake.
I am non-poisonous.
प्रभु जी क्या बताए थे ये स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड का मटेरियल का पूछा था मैं। आपका माइक ऑफ है।
समापति प्रभु कुछ बोल रहे थे क्या? आई एम सॉरी।
हाँ, मैं बोल रहा था कि प्रभु जी क्या बता रहे थे।
प्रभु
स्पिरिचुअल
जी
वर्ल्ड का
थोड़ा
मटेरियल का मैंने पूछा था प्रभु जी से। बोले गीता में हिंट दिया है, फिर ईश्वर उपनिषद पढ़ना है, फिर भागवतम पढ़ना है, फिर चेतन चरितामृत।
सब उसी में दिया बोल रहे हैं प्रभु। सब हमारे शास्त्र में दे आर मेंट टू बी नोन, अंडरस्टूड एंड रियलाइज्ड।
तो ईशो उपनिषद में भी हिंदी दिया है, बता रहे क्या?
उपनिषद तो नाम नहीं बोले,
बताया था।
मैं तो याद नहीं, मे बी यू हैव टू सी रिकॉर्ड।
भागवतम बोले, भागवतम, भागवत गीता, भागवतम।
धर्मात्मा प्रभु, वो तो अभी अभी सच बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो तो उत्तम भक्ति का है ना।
पहला लक्षण है अगर कोई एडवांस कर रहा है तो। भक्तिविनोद ठाकुर बोलते हैं टेलिंग लाई इज इक्विवेलेंट टू इलिसिट कलेक्शन विद वुमेन एंड मीट ईटिंग एंड सो ऑन। आप समझ जाइए।
और बोले नेवर गेट आउट ऑफ धर्मा। धर्मा के अंदर ही रहो बोले। ये धर्मा के अंदर रहना मतलब क्या? फॉलोइंग पॉजिटिव प्रिंसिपल्स, इतना ही है। नहीं तो फिर वो आ जाता है क्या, स्त्री धर्म, पुरुष धर्म, कॉमन ड्यूटी, स्पेसिफिक ड्यूटी।
आई थिंक धर्मात्मा प्रभु एंड मोहन प्रभु कैन टेल बीइंग धार्मिक। वो बोला दैट फर्स्ट वी शुड बी अनइंटरप्टेडली धार्मिक। मतलब कौन सा धर्म है इधर? सामान्य धर्म, सच बोलो, झूठ मत बोलो, बुरा मत करो, ये सब ना वर्णाश्रम धर्म है। कौन वाला धर्म है यार?
प्रोपा जी का ना एक कोट पढ़ रहा था अभी, जपा बुक पढ़ रहे थे सुबह, उसमें एक प्रोपा जी का कोट लिखा है। किसी ने क्वेश्चन किया है कि हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र करने से
Getting back to life. I got completely bewildered. And Dharma Prabhu pacified me. This is all part of machine life. आध्यात्मिक, आधिदैविक, आधिभौतिक, आधि आंतरिक miseries. So please bear with my paraphernalia, which is actually driving me crazy every now and then. But what to do? यही है जिंदगी। What? Why does everything take forever? Anyway, let me read out Prabhupada's purport, then I'll get back to Sridhar Swami. I'm trying to open that document. Everything is taking time. Srila Vyasadev's compilation of different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performances of fruitive activities, as depicted in the Mahabharata and other literature, is condemned herewith by Srila Narada. Have I shared it? Is it shared? Yes, it is shared. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. By practice means by practice over lifetimes. We have developed various subconscious, very forceful habits that are second nature or even first nature. They have no sense of the responsibility of human life, meaning the human beings, by long material association. This human form of life is a chance to get out of the clutches of illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home, to revolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of lives numbering 8,400,000. It's an imprisoned life for the condemned conditions. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life. And as such, the only occupation of the human being is to reestablish his lost relationship with God. Under the circumstances, one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. Such diversion of the human energy results in a misguided civilization. Vyasadeva is the authority in Vedic explanations in the Mahabharata, etc., and his encouragement in sense enjoyment in some form or other is a great barrier for spiritual advancement, because the people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. At a certain stage of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion, specifically sacrificing animals in the name of yajna, were too rampant, the Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and decried the authority of the Vedas in order to stop animal sacrifice in the name of religion. This was foreseen by Narada, and therefore he condemned such literatures. The flesh eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddess in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literatures, such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating. So the idea is that, all right, so you can take meat now, but over time, you should reduce it and come to the point, not taking anything. That is the idea. So it is meant to discourage flesh eating. This is because, they are so recommended to discourage flesh eating. But gradually, the purpose of such religious activities is forgotten, and the slaughterhouse becomes prominent. This is because foolish materialistic men do not care to listen to others who are actually in a position to explain the Vedic rites. In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth or even by increasing the population, but it is so attained only by renunciation. The materialistic men do not care where is this? To listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so-called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporeal defects, or for persons who have failed to achieve prosperity in family life. In histories like the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics on transcendental subjects along with material topics. The Bhagavad Gita is there in the Mahabharata the whole idea of the Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, that one should relinquish all other engagements and engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than to the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. This compromising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narada, who advises him to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay. A patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. The expert physician does not make any compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not at all take. Here you see the force of the Bhagavatam. The way Narada Muni is speaking, this is exactly how Vyasadeva and later Shukadeva Goswami and Suta Goswami will convey the message. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that a man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only dry empiric philosophers without spiritual realization. But those who are in the devotional line should never be so advised. There's a question here. Is there any way to stop slaughterhouses? Yes. By pure practice and by pure preaching, we will be able to reduce. 16. Vichakshanos ya Bhakti-vaibhava vibhava anantaparasya nivrititah sukham pravartamanasya gunairanatmanas tato bhavan darshaya cheshtitam vibhava. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Question. If Vritti Marga is criticized, then through Nivritti Marga, they can give up all these material activities and experience the happiness in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Why are you now telling me to talk extensively about his glories? That is because only an expert person can execute that. In fact, only that person who is on the Nivritti Marga can experience the true nature of the non-material happiness in relationship with the Almighty Lord. This cannot be experienced by those who are situated in material attachment. That means those who are under the clutches of their conditioned nature in Pravritti Marga. The Supreme Lord is unlimited in terms of space and in terms of time also. You must show this pathway to those who identify themselves with the material body and so on, and who are being impelled by Satoguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of God. It is not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. Only the very expert who have almost retired from materialistic activities by culture of spiritual knowledge can be admitted to the study of this great science. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that out of many hundreds and thousands of men, only one person deserves to enter into transcendental realization. And out of many thousands of such transcendently realized persons, only a few can understand the theological science, specifically dealing with God as a person. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narada to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. Vyasadeva is himself a personality expert in this science, and he is unattached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it, and Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is the right person to receive it. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost theological science, and therefore it can react on the layman as medicinal doses. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is a factual literary incarnation of the Lord. So the layman can hear the narration of the activities of the Lord and thereby associate with him. And thus they will gradually become purified from material disease. The expert devotees also can discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. Devotion service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. Such transcendental activities of the devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the foolish society of materialistic men. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his subsequent followers exhibited expert dexterity in this connection. By following the same method, one can bring the materialistic men of this age of quarrel into order for peaceful life and transcendental realization. 17. Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajanna pakvotha pate tato yadi yattat kvava bhadram abhud amushya kim kovartha apto bhajatam swadharmataha. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotion service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Ruji, I just want to confirm from you, like here Srila Narad Muni he doesn't want to compromise the message in text purport number 15. So the difference between compromising the message and presenting the message as per audience level, these are two different things.
These are two different things, yeah.
So I can say that I'm compromising when I don't intend to tell him that he need to surrender to Krishna, or when I mix other things with it. Is that correct? Like,
that is why it is said it requires expertise. You just examine how Prabhupada did things. Very straightforward. And at the same time, he knows what to say when, where. So this is individually, each of us should pray to Krishna for spiritual intelligence. Because when you compromise, the desired result will not be attained. And if you don't use your intelligence, you cannot penetrate into your target audience. Krishna will give us that intelligence.
Prabhu, one more question was that it's been emphasized that present without compromise. And problem is that audience, they doesn't want to hear uncompromised message. So how it will work? I am presenting things uncompromised.
The whole idea behind preaching is first you make them hungry and then you give them food. Now everybody will not be interested in becoming hungry. That's another thing. So therefore Prabhupada had this methodology. There are centers, temples, and we do preaching to a wide spectrum of people. through book distribution, through Harinam Sankirtan, through Prasadam distribution, and we bring them to that center, attract them to that center, and we have appropriate devotees dealing with each of this. And he wanted also that the devotees who are engaged in particular departments of devotion service should actually be able to do all of these things, should be able to at least assist in all of these aspects, not that they become just focused in one, because that is not going to help. You need to deal with everyone as a whole. So that kind of a holistic vision you need to have, and Prabhupada created that. The moment you create a center, you distribute books or you preach, they will want to come and see who are these people, whether their character is ideal as described in the books or not. So they will want to come and observe. If you don't have that kind of a center where everybody is brought in, you will not be able to attract them. So in that way, there are different audiences that we are dealing with. We want to preach from womb to tomb. Everybody. We want to preach to everyone in such a manner that we can help them progress in Krishna consciousness. So all of this requires some careful thought. As far as the duties of, so now the Kamya Karma has been described as a source of great dangers. So one should not do that, and instead, Vyasadeva should not do that, and Vyasadeva should just describe the pastimes of Lord Hari. That was stated. Now he is saying, why even respect the daily and occasional duties or swadharma, swavarna dharma, swa-ashrama dharma, and so on? Just instruct people to engage in the activities of Hari Bhakti. That is conveyed in this verse. So when one gives up swadharma and he engages in the activities of Krishna Bhakti, and when he becomes mature in Krishna Bhakti, then everything is successful. There's no need to worry. But if one dies when his Krishna Bhakti has not matured into the perfection of pure love of Godhead, or when he deviates from the pathway of Bhagavad Bhakti itself, then he will have to experience great calamities for having given up engagement in his Swadharma. Anticipating that, he says, even when one falls down from Bhajana Kriya or he dies, still, one who has developed a taste for Bhakti, he will not experience any calamity because he is not actually eligible for fruitive activities. Even though, even if you were to say that he is meant to be engaged in his material duties, the question will arise, what has actually been accomplished by such engagement in material duties? All right, let us say he falls down into a lower species because lower species of life in his next life, lower birth amongst humans or even lower than that. Still, for a person who has a taste for Krishna Bhakti, nothing inauspicious will happen because he has now attained the desire to engage in devotion service unto the Lord. On the other hand, you have those who do not engage in bhajana kriya. What is the use of swadharma for them spiritually? As far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty bound not only to his parents, family members, society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc. But also to the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the service of the Lord. So if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotion service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment, and in the long run, due to so many other reasons, he falls down from the path of service by undesirable association. There are so many instances of this in the histories. Bharat Maharaj was obliged to take his birth as a stag due to his intimate attachment to a stag. He thought of this stag when he died. Thus, in the next birth, he became a stag, although he did not forget the incidents of his previous birth. Similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to his offenses at the feet of Shiva. But in spite of all this, the stress is given here to surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord, even if there is a chance of falling down. Because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of devotional service, he will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Once engaged in the devotion service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotion service can save one from the most dangerous position. There are many instances of such examples in history. Jamila is one of them. Jamila in his early life was a devotee, but in his youth he fell down. Still he was saved by the Lord at the end. Yes.
Prabhuji, you told about creating hunger and then feeding. So how this hunger is created? Like people automatically become Sukritivan, or we also do something for that?
When we engage in pure preaching, then a few might be inclined to, at least for the sake of courtesy, engage in activities that come under Bhakti Yoga. So this is Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. These are pious credits, punya, but these are punyas which will impel the person to engage in Bhakti Yoga in the future. So that is why Krishna consciousness, as taught by Prabhupada, there are so many ways by which we are instructed to engage people in Krishna consciousness in so many ways. So that's how it comes. Okay, let's move on. 18. Tasyaiva heto prayateto kovido nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyata tallabhyate dukhavadanyata sukham kalena sarvatra gavira ramhasa. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. Question: if one simply engages in swadharma, then one attains Pitraloka, the world of pious forefathers. This is stated in the Shruti. So how can you say, how can you ask this question? What is the use of swadharma when a person does not engage in Hari Bhakti? Certainly there is benefit. One goes to Pitraloka and is elevated materially. So in response to that, this verse is spoken. One should endeavor to engage in the activities of devotional service to the Lord. Because all the way up to Chaturmukha Brahma, or to the lowest species of life in the universe, the living entities are wandering life after life after life. This is seen from the perspective of eternity, what we are all doing. So then what do they get? They simply experience material, the happiness of material enjoyment. in accordance with their ancient karmic reactions to karmic material activities since a long time back, since several lifetimes back. From that time, just as one attains hell, so like that these people will attain Swarga also, Pitraloka, all these places. And by the force of their previous activities, just as they get material distress even without an endeavor in this life, like that, they will get material happiness also by the force of their own previous pious activities. Aprarthitani dukkhani yathaivayanti deshinam sukhanyapi tatha manye dainyam atra tirichyate. Without praying for it, you get distresses. All conditioned souls experiences. Similarly, they will also have to experience material happiness. Every man everywhere is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment by various endeavors. Some men are busy engaged in trade, industry, economic development, political supremacy, etc. And some of them are engaged in fruity work to become happy in the next life by attaining higher planets. It is said that on the moon, the inhabitants are fit for greater sense enjoyment by drinking somarasa, and the Pitraloka is obtained by good charitable work. So there are various programs for sense enjoyment, either during this life or in the life after death. Some are trying to reach the moon or other planets by some mechanical arrangement, or they are very anxious to get into such planets without doing good work. But it is not to happen. By the law of the Supreme, different places are meant for different grades of living beings according to the work they have performed. By good work only, as prescribed in the scriptures, can one obtain birth in a good family, opulence, good education, and good bodily features. We see also that even in this life, one obtains a good education or money by good work. Similarly, in our next birth, we get such desirable positions only by good work. Otherwise, it would not so happen that two persons born in the same place at the same time are seen differently placed according to previous work. But all such material positions are impermanent. The positions in the topmost Brahmaloka and in the lowest Patala are also changeable according to our own work, according to the reactions to our previous work, our previous material activities. The philosophically inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. He should try to get into the permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where he will not be forced to come back again to the miserable material world, either in this or that planet. Miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are obtained in Brahmaloka and in other lokas also. They are obtained in the life of the demigods and also in the life of the dogs and hogs. The miseries and mixed happiness of all living beings are only of different degree and quality, but no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should not, therefore, waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. Yes?
Prabhuji, like I have experienced this when we discuss this point with, or we tell this to others, that you'll get your happiness which is destined to you. Many times the question which they raise is, but if I don't work only, how will I get the result? Like, so how far is this true? That they have to engage in certain acts to get that, or even if they don't engage, they will get it?
There are people who don't work and who still are having a happy time, because they've done so many pious activities in the past. I myself had a friend in the past. He was born in such a rich family, and he was pampered by his parents to such an extent that all he needed to do was just to survive. He just has to live, that's all. That's all. He just has to live. I think even in 2008 8 or 9, he was receiving a pocket money of the equivalent of 30,000 rupees per month. He just needed to live. That's all. That's all. Literally, he needs to live. Otherwise, whatever is required, everything would be provided for. So there are people like that. Obviously, they will be in the minority. But there were people like that. And there still are people like that. I'm very sure there are still boys and girls. And men, women like that. The others, they will have to engage in that amount of activity which will produce that amount of results. Those who don't have pious credits to fructify in this life will naturally have to go through it. But the basic point is this: it is anyway coming to you. So don't chase after something which is anyway coming to you. Focus on spiritual advancement. Material happiness anyway will come. It's not that we need to go through our duties. We need to go through the activities which are required. But there is that ovation. There is that impulsion that if I don't do it, nothing will happen. It's not like that. Not exactly like that. There are 5 causes for every activity. Adhishtanam tatha karta, karanam cha pruthak vidam, vividascha pruthak cheshta, daivam chaivatra pancham. Remember that. 19. Ravai Janoja. Yes.
Then there is a verse also in Sanskrit somewhere like Samhitopadesh or something that Nahi suptasya sinyasya pravesanti mukhim raga. So how far is this correct? Is it wrong? Partially correct?
No, even for sense enjoyment, you need to endeavor. Even if that sense enjoyment is brought in front of you, you will still have to, you cannot be lazy. You cannot be lazy. Even that person who had so much money at his disposal, even if he had to enjoy that money, he had to endeavor. For eating also, I have to go to a restaurant and eat. No? Or at least have to pick up the phone and place an order. No? Something I have to do. That is the point. Don't be lazy.
I'm not getting the point that it will come to me. Like one was minority case, which you said, and then other one with they don't have pious credits, they'll work for it and then they'll get it. So how is it coming to them? Because they are working.
The idea is that they have already done it in the past. So because they've done it in the past, it comes to them. Just as material unhappiness comes to you, even when you don't seek it out. How does that come? How does that come? Somebody is just walking in some street in Bihar and there's some street fight and some bullets are shot here and there and he's shot and he dies. Bang, over. How is that coming? Did he ask for it? He didn't ask for it. So like that, somebody, you come across these things. Sometimes some of these cinematic events actually happen in real life. Somebody comes and gives you money because otherwise the police will arrest him. All these things happen. We also see we also come across people doing these kind of things, getting such happiness. There are people who actually experience it. That too, we are in the age of information. We can very easily find out these things with minimal effort or with almost zero effort. They get something gigantic. How is that happening? So the whole point is, just as material unhappiness comes to you by the force of your past impiety, so by the force of your past piety, you will get that material happiness which you deserve. You will not get material happiness that you don't deserve. You will only get material happiness that you deserve. Because each and every one of us is the architect of our own destiny. We created our history and we will create our destiny. So I will simply get what I'm meant to get. All of us will get what we are meant to get. That is the basic point that is brought out here. Text 19 I'll have to deal with in the next session. But I think that with the current system that I have, I should be able to complete more or less the portions that are there. Okay, how to come out of bad dreams? Any prayers we can do? We can pray to Lord Nrsimhadev. We can pray to. There's so many nice, beautiful prayers throughout in Bhagavatam. Prayers given to us by Bhakti-vaibhava Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur. And before going to sleep, we can read Krishna book. And on top of it, we can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra more and more. From one set of 16 rounds, we can increase it to 2 sets of 16 rounds, and 3 sets and 4 sets, without giving up our responsibilities in Bhakti Yoga. And it'll all eventually, the effect will be manifest. Mohan Radhapati Group.
So we read in the purport to 16th verse, expert devotees find out competent means to inject it into dull brains. So we see that in terms of the various practical things like the mridanga beats, dancing, singing. So we see that newer things keep coming in our temples. So, and some devotees heavily criticize that Srila Prabhupada has told only this step is Srila Prabhupada's step, no other step. This beat only should be played in mridanga for singing also. So, we should adapt to it, or we should try to change it. What is correct actually?
First of all, we have to look at all of Prabhupada's instructions on Kirtana in a consolidated manner. So if you look at the Kirtan Standards book and you read it in its entirety, then you understand the basic spirit of Prabhupada's intentions. There's a place for creativity. There is a place for creativity. But whether it should be inside an ISKCON temple in front of the deities, these are all things to be worked out. Okay? Keep stopping.